channel, Papa Mau Mau now. And Papa Mau Mau says a message from the ancient Egyptians that the ancient Egyptians just want to say one thing. You want to know what that one thing is? No, okay, they don't want to know.
Party.
That one thing is that the ancient Egyptians love you. The Mayans love you. The Aztecs love you. You know why? They went to so much trouble to be able to build stone monuments that have now existed down through time to tell you in this generation, right now, and these people in this room, to talk about this particular period of time being so special and so amazing and so dynamic that every other person in this room is going to take a quantum leap far and above anything you ever thought possible before. And the great thing about studying everything that Richard has done and everything that Daniel has done and all the stuff that if you're talking about the Mayans and the Aztecs and the Incans and the ancient Egyptians and going all the way back through time, these ancient cultures knew more about our future and about the path that was laid down to humanity than any of us in this room know today. And so the remarkable thing is that they had a message of love for all of you that they had to find a way to pass down through time, because they knew that it would be them incarnating over and over and over again to this particular period in time, and they needed to find a way to communicate down through time, knowing that scrolls can disappear, that stone tablets can be destroyed, that scriptures and dogma would be rewritten by men of greed and men of fear and men of power. And so how do you relate that? You build stone monuments, amazing stone monuments, like the Great Pyramid. You use geometry and mathematics able to communicate universal ideas in a universal language to talk to you in the future about what's going down. We got 5 years. I've been doing this probably, I don't know, 15, 20 years or so, and I've been talking about this particular unique period of time, this quantum leap, this activation of ascension, this period where we would go from a 3-chakra system to the eat chakras, the talk chakras, and the reproductive chakras, the eat, fun, and talk chakras, if you will, and we only talk to food and fun, and go to a 7-chakra system to a 12-chakra system where we become winged beings, angelic winged beings, if you will, that are processing. Literally, it was the best analogy I've heard in a long time. Daniel's analogy about putting up your sails to get ready for the great wind that's going to come, because believe me, brothers and sisters, it's going to blow. And in this process, the fascinating thing for me about prophecy is we have the grand design. We know through looking at the Great Pyramid of Giza that there are 3 paths that humanity is going to take. There is a path that goes down into a pit that is a terrible, depressing place. It's also known as the Well of Souls. That's 151 feet beneath the Great Pyramid of Giza. That has an edge or a lip on that pit that humanity begins to degrade, if you will, to devolve in chunks and starts and stops all the way down to the bottom of the pit, beginning approximately 2005 or so. Right on cue, here comes Katrina, here comes the hurricanes, here comes the destruction of New Orleans, here comes the establishment for the first time of martial law in the United States, which then leads to the establishment of the federal military patrolling our borders, the end of posse comitatus, the end of habeas corpus, the end of all these things that they used to actually grease through by destroying the city of New Orleans, which, by the way, they blew a couple of levees in order to make this possible so that Halliburton could go in and buy up all the property, and there's all kinds of oil under there as well. So don't let them think there's just this natural that the government wasn't responding to. There was a reason why they weren't doing it. The challenge here is that in 2005, you are seeing this downward path, and this is one group of humanity. The fact that there are people in this room now, as opposed to stadiums filling with people trying out for American Idol, IDLE, a karaoke contest, whereas you can get a whole stadium full of people to stand around and have Simon Cowell call you an idiot. But the challenge is you have an expo like this to have people and hear about your future and what's going to happen in the future is really kind of a sad state of affairs. And you and I both know that these 3 paths, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be on the left-hand side, the goat, so to speak, as the Bible calls it, that are going to be simply flushed down into the pit. I used to think that you could probably balance out, everybody that watched X-Files would go to heaven, and everybody who watched, Friends would just be flushed right down the toilet. But it was one of those, make it really easy for God, just American Idol. So,
don't you love him?
So there's a middle path. There's a middle path. And the middle path is kind of interesting. The middle path is not so bad, but the middle path begins in the pyramid with Paul. Begins about 48 AD and begins a divergence of the crystalline structure of Christianity. When Jesus of Nazareth, or Emmanuel ben Joseph, when he walked the earth and he came here, he had a very specific message for the people here. And I challenge most people out there, next time you talk to a rabbi or a priest or whatever, why don't you try to ask them, and I did this in Nepal, actually. I lived in a monastery in Nepal, Tangbache, and Rinpoche Lobsang Tumdun asked me, describe Christianity for me. Now, try to explain Christianity to a Hindu. Has anybody been to India and tried to explain our traditions? Because I literally had a Hindu driver who said to me, so let me get this straight. So Jesus is the Son of God, and he dies on the cross, and he lays in a tomb for 3 days, and he arises as a great rabbit, and he hides eggs for the little children, and then he hides the eggs, but then he escapes and he goes to the North Pole and eats a lot of food and becomes very fat and has a wife and wears a red suit and comes with a reindeer and gives presents to... That's Christianity, isn't it? And I just looked at him and said, yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's right. That's all right. So Rinpoche said to me, he said, describe Christianity. And I said, well, okay, Jesus was a good guy and he died on the cross and he rises 3 days later. And he said, no. He said, that's a story about Jesus. We have all kinds of stories about Buddha. Buddha did this, Buddha did that, Buddha walked on water, Buddha ate a sandwich, Buddha went bowling, all kinds of stuff about Buddha. I'm very into bowling, Buddha. And I said, well, okay, and I took out a Bible that I had with me and I read the Sermon on the Mount. And I read the Sermon on the Mount and Rinpoche sat there and he sort of meditated through it and he said, oh, so Jesus was a Buddhist. I said, not exactly. And he said, well, look at this. And he takes out a diatribe of Buddha and reads it. It's virtually verbatim, word for word. And I began to realize that in Western society, where I am trying to reintroduce the concept of monotheism, try to think of that for a while, that we're reintroducing the concept of monotheism, and you're trying to look at Christianity, that this divergence began for the people on the middle path of the religion about Jesus and the religion of Jesus. Get the difference? And so the difference of Jesus, the religion about Jesus, those who are interested in this middle path, they all go into the Queen's Chamber. And the Queen's Chamber is, you can dream. It's the mo is better sort of thing. That if I just had mo of something, it'd be better. If I had mo money, it'd be better. If I had mo women, it'd be better. If I had mo cars, it'd be better. It is going to be the motto of the American civilization. The Greeks were know thyself. The Egyptians were as above, so below. America will have in Latin, mo is better. That'll just be the sign. That will be what they put on the stone of the United States of America is if I just had mo, it'd be better. And people don't understand that mo ain't better. And so the actual aspect of this is that now we are entering the King's Chamber. And the King's Chamber is so fascinating because the entire building structure of the Great Pyramid shifts on February 21st of 1999. And it goes from base granite to red granite. And everywhere you see red granite in Egypt, that means something's going on. That means there is spirit. That means something holy. That means the Holy Spirit infuses it directly. And this begins a 40-year period from 1999 to approximately the year 2039 as a 40-year Exodus period that is a period of cleansing of the tabernacle and the cleansing of the temple itself and a cleansing of the human heart specifically in preparation for the next Messiah in 2039. This is predicted by the pyramid. And by the way, the Great Pyramid predicts that the last Messiah would be born 2 BC. Points to the exact location the Messiah would be born, which is a couple hundred yards from the cave of the Nativity in Bethlehem. Talks about that this Messiah would leave on April 1st of 33 AD. It's in the time coding of the pyramids. And now you're being told that many of you within your lifetime, this messianic figure is going to come again and create a theological government literally on earth, a messianic government where we will have a theocracy, if you will, once again. Now, the challenge of this is that people in the past are trying to communicate that this is your responsibility. You're the people that have to cleanse the tabernacle. You're the people that have to open your hearts. You're the people that have to prepare the space that's available for all of this to start coming together. Now, if you realize that generations have predicted you, every prophecy is about you. Every prophecy is about what you're going to do and what actions you're going to take. That's a hell of a responsibility, don't you think? Can I get an amen? So there you go. So the idea is, if you want to understand the core synthesis, and if you want to take all the gobbledygook of the stone monuments and the Mayans and the Incans and what